Human history is filled with bravery, brilliance, and deadly stupidity at the same time. Today we have silly death stories from a prank to a fatal DIY experiment. But before we dive into it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more funny stories of human history. Arson, insurance, and the most expensive shortcut ever taken? Desperation has many ways to convince stupid people that they are actually smarter than everyone else. When businesses struggle, most people seek other creative solutions to improve their situation. But unfortunately, creativity that lacks common sense can turn deadly. A small restaurant owner in the quiet hours before dawn in an English city returned to his closed shop with an amazing plan. The business was not doing well at that time, and he had recently subscribed to a sizable insurance policy. The solution that will give him a financial reset was a minor store fire. He believed that this fire would be small enough to just damage the shop slightly, which would help him justify the claim. And after a brief closure, he could get back to his business. To pull this out properly, he convinced an employee and another accomplice to join him in this plan. They were supposed to arrive late at night, carrying fuel containers to the kitchen. The basic idea here was to ignite a controlled blast and then leave the shop before things get chaotic. But spoiler alert, that's not how things turned out to be. When the match was struck to start the fire, many fumes accumulated and they instantly blasted off. The entire building caught fire in a few moments with an explosion that broke all the glass windows and sent them flying into the streets. The sound of this alerted half of the neighborhood within seconds. They all panicked, and one of the accomplices ran away while the other one escaped through the side alley. The man who was the mastermind of this great plan did not leave the scene, and he never made it out alive. When emergency crews arrived, they found a scene that looked more like a bomb site and less like a small kitchen fire. His body was found recently when the workers cleaned up the shop, and it was buried under the rubble. The insurance claim, for which the plan was made, never came, and instead the accomplices who survived the fire were later arrested. They were interrogated and sentenced to years in prison. A plan that was meant to be a simple but effective way to receive money from the insurance company became a textbook example of how crime not only fails, but can also backfire horribly. Living among giants and forgetting what they are. This is one of the stories that appear less silly on the surface, but get more and more unsettling as you look deeper into it. It begins with a man who truly loved and admired wildlife, nature, and strongly believed that wild predators could accept him as one of their own. Even though he had several pieces of evidence, he still went against them and stood strong on his belief. He spent his summers in the Alaskan wilderness while camping among massive and dangerous brown bears for over a decade. He also filmed all this while talking to them, naming them as pets, and he also claimed that they understood him. He was seen standing just a few feet from the animal, which could end his life in just a few seconds. Park officials kept warning him repeatedly during this experiment, but he refused to let any electric fences stand in his way. He was strongly determined that bears are not his opponents, and fear was the real enemy. He got famous through his journey, and for the audience, he was quite fascinating while being part environmentalist and part performance artist for them. The only problem with his belief that predators are friends is that the predators don't care what you believe because they are just deadly wild creatures.
What happens when a bear gets a little too close during your camping trip?
Bears usually eat more and gain more weight before winter to keep them warm so they can easily survive. In autumn, he stayed longer than he normally would. Food was scarce at the time, and bears were desperate to gain weight before winter set in. One night, a massive bear entered his camp, and what happened later on was quite terrifying. He was first attacked and then dragged into the woods. His partner followed him immediately, and by the time the authorities reached, there was nothing they could do. The bear was tracked down and killed by authorities after the incident, and it was marked as the first fatal attack in the park's entire history. This tragedy is not only about his death, but is actually about the warnings and reminders he ignored that wild animals are not friendly creatures, but instead they are wild forces of nature. Social media, selfies, and a lethal need for likes. The acceptance of social media has brought many positive things into the world, like connection and creativity, but has also brought a dangerous obsession with attention. For some people, a perfect photo to upload on social media is more important than their personal safety. Extreme selfies became a trend back in the early 2000s, where young people used to climb buildings, dangle on bridges, or balance on impossible ledges for some images that would shock and impress people online. Influencers made this a trend by playing with death, while others blindly followed them in the hope that they could also achieve the same success. One teenager from Russia also decided to do this trend. She and her friend went to a railway bridge at night as they were drawn by the dramatic scene of tracks stretching into the darkness. They planned to climb there, pose casually, and just capture a photo for social media. But nothing happened according to this plan. She managed to reach the summit and pulled out her camera. While she was doing this, it was hard to stand on the track, and she lost her balance. In a quick response, or maybe an instinct, she reached for something to steady herself and not to fall. But unfortunately, she happened to grab a high-voltage cable, and the electricity killed her on the spot. Her body fell dozens of feet onto the concrete below the track. The warnings were later reinstated by railway officials to avoid any further accidents. No filter, no caption, and no amount of likes can ever justify the risk involved in these types of trends. Industrial hazards like trains or power lines are not props for photo shoots. If you're enjoying this video so far, do subscribe to our channel for more scary and unbelievable human stories. When pretending to be a legend goes fatally wrong, almost every person wants to be a legend who has power and who inspires people with awe, curiosity, or sometimes highly questionable behavior. Many legends loom larger in modern folklore, while some are towering, elusive creatures that are rumored to wander in the forest like Bigfoot. Many humans would have dedicated their lives to proving or debunking its existence, but one man thought of doing something totally different and unique about it. He decided to become the legend himself, but the results were not only bad, but catastrophic. In the early hours of a quiet night in rural Montana, a man wore a suit that was designed to camouflage in the dense greenery and not for some stupid pranks. He had a simple plan to execute, at least it was simple in his mind. He would wander onto a dark highway at night while he was vaguely dressed like a towering creature. And this would trigger a series of headlines about Bigfoot sightings. The calls would start pouring in, and the legend would grow stronger, and people would talk more and more about it. But the only thing he didn't consider was the physics, reaction time, and the fact that cars traveling at high speed on the highway don't slow down for any threat or myth. In the backdrop of darkness, his outline was nearly invisible, which was another flaw in this wonderful plan. When he had his plan in action, a driver moving at a very high speed didn't get the chance to understand the situation, and the car hit the so-called Bigfoot. The impact was immediate and quite terrible. Moments later, another vehicle struck him before anyone could process what had happened. Everything was connected, and the intent behind this stunt was revealed later in the investigation. There were also rumors that alcohol might have played a role in this, but arrogance was definitely a big thing behind it. What was meant to be a prank or a joke to get a bit of local fame ended up becoming a permanent cautionary story of the fatal consequences of confusing fantasy with reality. Poachers, predators, and instant karma in the wild. Most human deaths could gain sympathy, no matter how silly the reason or story behind it was. But some can provoke outrage, while others bring grim satisfaction. This story is one of the other two categories and didn't gain any sympathy from people. Rangers are constantly risking their lives in southern Africa while trying to stop poachers. Various armed groups would sneak into the protected areas without permission and attack endangered animals for body parts that are worth millions on the black market. Once, a group of poachers entered a national park while taking advantage of the darkness, and they were heavily armed. They intended to kill a rhinoceros to sell its body parts for money, but they didn't get far. Before they could find any rhinos, they accidentally ran into a herd of elephants. Now, elephants are the type of animals that do not fear or become passive when threatened, and they instead charge. When elephants attacked the group of poachers, chaos erupted in the park, and only 4 men managed to escape through the bushes. One was unable to escape the attack and was killed. Days later, park officials found his remains as proof the predators had crushed and hunted a man. No dramatic confrontations or shootouts happened with the rangers, and nature itself handled the situation. The official issued a formal statement to express condolences, but the public showed very little sympathy, as for many people it was seen as a poetic death. Son of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee, died in the most gruesome way, yet it was also silly. He was shooting the movie The Crow, and during one of the scenes, the gun that should have been a prop gun and unloaded was actually a real gun. During the experiment, he died. No one wanted to pull the trigger, and even the person who pulled it had no idea the actor was dying. They kept firing, not knowing that they were killing Bruce Lee's son himself, which is just absurd. His name was Brendan Lee, and he met a gruesome fate. These stories aren't meant to mock or make fun of the dead, but they are actually for highlighting how fragile human life is when common sense is not present. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into humanity's strangest mistakes.